Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Only YouTube channel, and welcome back to the channel favourite here, the Premier League predictions for match week 34. Got a bit of a half match week because of some of the FA Cup action, so I only got 7 games to go through, but we'll be going through all the weekend's action here on this video now. Looking back at last week, not a great week for myself. I only managed the 4 of our prediction points, adding to the 197 we came into last week with, so coming into this match week here with a 201 of our prediction points. If you're somehow new towards the back end of the season here, welcome to the channel. But if you're wondering how the prediction points work, it is 3 points for the correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, and obviously 0 for neither. So really poor effort for me last week with only the 4 prediction points. Looking to bounce back, some interesting games here, some down the bottom, important ones for the title challenges. So very exciting for that regard. So let's get straight now into the Premier League predictions. Our first game takes us to Kenilworth Road. It's Luton Town hosting Brentford, a pivotal game at the bottom of the table. For Luton, it's going to be massive. So coming off that heavy loss to Man City, it's all about trying to find points at home. I targeted their 3 home games to end the season off as their most important games. They started with a win versus Bournemouth, a massive game here versus a Brentford side, which are not convincing at major points in time. So definitely a team that's gettable. And we know at home they can be a very hard team to beat, that compact environment. Obviously coming off that first ever comeback victory last time out at home. They know how to play the ground well. And I looked at the experienced players, Carlton Morris, Ross Barkley, Andros Townsend, Kaminsky and goal to lead this team to take a hold of those important moments. And I think for Luton it's important they continue to be good over the 90 minutes. I've said in the past they've been great starters, great finishers, but we want to see a 90-minute performance here. I think if they can put together consistent 90-minute performances, especially against a Brentford side, which will look to capitalise on any drop-off in performance and form, that's the most important thing to do. So Brentford will capitalise on any sort of lull in the game. So for Luton, it's about staying up, staying consistent. Again, starting the game quick and fast like you have in recent weeks, but sustaining that intensity, sustaining that consistency throughout the game. Because as I said, Brentford, come off a clinical 2-0 win over Sheffield United, but weren't impressive. They just got the job done, and they're that sort of team at the moment. They get the job done. They can be tough to beat in the back. They'll be nice and compact. I think they'll be fine to give up possession to Luton, but they're so clinical in the counter-attack. Vista and Burmo, think back to 2 weeks ago where they drew that 3-3 game with Aston Villa. It was built on solidity at the back and then picking your moments to go and score goals. 3 goals in the space of 15 minutes. They can do it to any team. Aston Villa, a prime example, probably one of the most informed teams currently. They did that to them 2 weeks ago, so they can absolutely do that to Luton. So for Luton, it's about having their leaders stand up and put together a consistent 90-minute performance. And for Brentford to sort of end all the relegation chat, that obviously I think they're well and truly safe, but just to make sure you're definitely away from that drop zone, get this massive 3 points here. It's going to be tough, but grinding it out, playing like you're used to, using Vista, using your Burma as those out balls, and using the counter-attack to your benefit, being tougher to beat the back, and then capitalising any half chances. I think Brentford will make a half for Luton, but I think at home, with a need to win this game to hopefully stay up, I've got Luton just nicking it with a 2-1 result. I think they'll come from behind once again to win this game, 2-1 at home. Our next game is a bit of a relegation side scrap between Sheffield United and Burnley, both teams who I believe are now well and truly gone and they are down. But it'll be interesting to see who's up for this game. Sheffield United recently, since at Arsenal 6-0, humbling at home, have been really solid, especially at home. Draws versus Fulham, draws versus Chelsea as well. So they're a team that can make it hard, especially at home. That crowd gets behind the side when they get that early goal in the game or get a goal to equalise the game. That crowd really gets behind the Blades, and I think there'll be a very good battle here for Burnley. Burnley will want to play in possession. They've been solid at times and more probably solid without the football. I think at their best they've been a more 40% possession type team. But when they're in the 55-60 range, there's just too many mistakes in this side. Muric, the last 2 games, has cost his side an ability to get 3 points. They had 3 points versus Brighton, but just handed them a lifeline and got them the draw in that game there by just the mistakes from Muric. So it depends how this game runs. If Sheffield United have more of the ball, it could be a more even clash with Burnley, but I think Burnley just too mistake-riddled with possession. I think they're very vulnerable at the moment, and Sheffield United have probably been the more formed team out of the 2, especially across the last 3 to 4 weeks. So being at home, I've backed them in this game here. I've got them win this game 2-1. I think think they'll take a 2-goal lead. Burnley might pull one back, but I think it'll be just quite easy sailing here for Sheffield United at home. Our next game is massive for the title race and how it's going to all work out. It's Wolves hosting Arsenal. Wolves obviously coming off a very challenging but rewarding 2-2 draw away to Nottingham Forest, a team that's battling to stay up. So, respectable result in that regard. It's not always easy to travel to his relegation side, but Wolves did that well. Mateus Cunha coming back with a double. We got Juan coming off the bench. Pablo Sarabia has been in good form as well. You look to all these sort of guys here to be important for them, to be the out ball, because they're going to defend for 80 out of the 90 minutes, you feel like, against Arsenal here. But they've got to use that blueprint, how they beat City at home, and how Aston Villa played versus Arsenal, which was barely solid at the back, restrict any real chances that Arsenal can get, and then build your way into the game, get some momentum, get some chances, and pounce any mistakes Arsenal make. They don't make many, but you saw Aston Villa, they try to pounce at any half mistake or any half chance they got, and they were clinical in front of goal. So look for Cunha and Sarabia to be really clinical in front of goal, to take those chances. Look to Tommy Dawn, Lamina to be that core, that really tough to beat midfield, and really make it hard for Arsenal. We've seen Bayern do it, we've seen Aston Villa now do it in recent weeks. It's forced Arsenal to try and create a moment of magic. And for Arsenal, I think it's going to be important they can find that moment of magic. Look to Trossard, Havertz, Saka, Odegaard, these sort of players to try and create something out of nothing. Because right now the goals just aren't coming for them at the moment. They're struggling to break down and create clear-cut opportunities. They're creating a lot of opportunities, but not real clear-cut, easy to score opportunities at the moment. So look to one of those players to create a moment of magic to open this game up. Because once they score first, I think the floodgates will open and they'll continue to pile on the goals. So I think one of those players is to stand up in this game here, get a goal and get the game to be opened and stretched to allow Arsenal to do their best work. I think once that first goal goes in, Arsenal will have the upper hand. I think Wolves, despite being a really competitive side and really hard to beat at home, a little bit on the beach in fact that they probably can't get Europe. They're just stuck there in that mid-table. So once Arsenal get going, their mentality there is to win the title. They'll be focused. Once the first goes in, they'll pile on some more. And I got them win this game 4-1 at Molineux. Our next game is a massive relegation 6-pointer. It is Everton hosting Nottingham Forest. It is your 17th and 16th place teams facing off here. Very, very massive matchup. Everton at home needing a big result, needing a big performance. They were poor versus Chelsea. They were obviously outclassed by an individual player, but not at their best. And I think that they've been at their best now for a long period of time. They've got some handy draws here and there. Obviously, they've faced some harder teams in recent weeks, but they just haven't been good enough for my liking. And they really need to find this performance here versus Nottingham Forest, because they've been one of the stronger form sides since the turn of the year. Not many great, results to back it up, but performance-wise, have been very, very solid. Everton, obviously, last time out, conceding 6 to Chelsea, shows where the team's at in terms of they lose their head quite easily, and especially at home. I think it could go two ways. Obviously, the crowd will get behind Everton, but it's always that pressure playing at home. It can be a bit overwhelming. So you look to the leaders, Tarkowski, Pickford, Decore, Ashley Young, these sort of players, to try and control the heads, keep the youngsters in control, and your new players like McNeil, like Jack Harrison, better if he starts, to just try and hopefully get their feet grounded and used to this Everton Merseyside crowd, especially come the back end of the season. We've seen the last few years it's been hectic in these games, and normally it's helped the team get over the line, but it can be overwhelming for some players. So I think early on, just to adjust to the game, get the leaders involved, and just calm the energy down in this group, and allow yourself to play. Use your width. Use Decore, that second striker, to be important. I feel like Decore and the wide players are going to be so important, because when Everton are at their best and performed well this season, it's always been the wingers getting involved with goals and assists, and Decore always getting on the score sheet and then dropping in to support, to make it a 5 in midfield and make it hard to go past. So that's always going to be their formula. For Nottingham Forest, we've seen they've been so good in recent weeks, playing with that freedom, playing with fluidity, and most importantly, playing with pace. This team looks at its best when it plays with pace. You've got Morgan Gibbs-White standing up in the moment, performing at such a great level. Chris Wood is in goal-scoring form of his life right now. And look to that midfield, Yates, alongside Danilo, have been very solid. But important for me, Murillo at the back. That back four going to have to deal with Everton's physicality, their counter-attacking style of football. So Murillo leading that back line alongside Ola Aina, Williams, whoever's back there. It's going to be very important they're up to their game. They're 10 out of 10 type performances, because Everton are going to challenge you physically with long balls, with crosses, and they're also going to challenge on the counter-attack. So I imagine Nottingham Forest have a lot of the ball, despite it being at Merseyside there. I think Everton will give up possession. They'll try and counter-attack this Nottingham Forest side. Obviously, for Forest, it'll be massive if they can get the 3 points here, sort of separate themselves from Everton, and then Everton drops into that debate alongside Luton. So these two teams here, a lot to lose, a lot to gain from it as well. And as such, I've got it being a high-scoring game, but I've got it being a draw. I've got a 2-2 score draw. I think at the end of the day, both teams have a lot of weaknesses right now, most often defensively and keeping their mindset. They've both got some informed forwards at times and some creative midfield players. So I think there's going to be goals in this game here. I don't feel like anyone will go out and try and win it early on, but once one goes in, I can see the floodgates opening and being a really exciting affair. But right now, I just don't see any side having the quality enough to break each other down and dominate the game. As such, I got this game ending in a 2-2 draw. Our next game is in South London. It's Crystal Palace hosting West Ham in an all-London affair. Massive game for West Ham. Can they get back to winning ways? Can they consolidate after a tough loss? Very interesting to see. Obviously, Crystal Palace come off a historic 1-0 win away at Anfield there. They've done a really good job away from home in the Northwest this season and done it really, really well. And I'm hoping they can correlate and take that momentum here to this game versus West Ham at home. Likely to have much more with the ball and likely to use the likes of Elise and Eze more often. I keep saying at the podcast, when these two play together, Crystal Palace win more games and they don't, and they look really solid. And you've got Mateta in some good goal-scoring form as well. You've got a really dangerous front line. I think you've got to use that in this game here versus West Ham. They're very vulnerable defensively right now, making a lot of mistakes. They're mistake-riddled and really exposed at the current point in time. I think for Crystal Palace, it's going to be a fact of let's have more time possession. Let's create things. Let's put West Ham under pressure. Bit of counter pressing. Use that high energy and high work rate in midfield with Wharton and Hughes, because that's what we've seen under Oliver Glasner. It was a very Oliver Glasner type performance versus Liverpool. Make yourself really hard to beat. Outwork the opposition. You ride your luck here and there, but be that pragmatic defensive style. Be the high energy. Be the high workers, and make life the opposition hell. I think they can do that for West Ham. And you see when West Ham get pressurised and overworked, they can fail, fall apart, and really collapse. And you saw that versus Fulham there. Mavropanos with mistakes, vulnerability at the back, being exposed in the counter-attack, looking very stretched at times. And you've got a lot of quality forwards like Kudus, like Bowen, like the likes of Antonio and Paqueta, but they don't track back really well defensively. So that's there's a vulnerability there for Crystal Palace to go and expose. For West Ham, it's going to be interesting to see how they play this game. If they have more possession, do they have the ability to break down a back five with two holders in front? Can they do that? Can they be free of mistakes? That's another question as well. It's just such a yo-yo side at the current point in time. You don't know how to really read them. As such, with Palace's momentum, the confidence of being at home, and West Ham's vulnerability at the moment, I've got this game ending in a 1-1 draw. I think both teams at the moment will just take that draw, they'll move into the next week. And the way both teams are going, I think that's the most appropriate result for these two teams here. Our next game sees Aston Villa take on Bournemouth. Aston Villa obviously coming off a great 2-0 victory away at the Emirates to almost dent Arsenal title hopes. They obviously have the game on Thursday night as well to deal with a European fixture, to do a quick turnaround to the weekend. But I think right now what we're seeing is Aston Villa locking away that fourth spot there in some really solid form at the current point in time, and a lot of belief in this unit here. We've said it all season, Ollie Watkins is pivotal to this side, but I looked at Tielemans and Zaniolo again. Those two were massive in that win versus Arsenal, and I hope they can carry that momentum over to this next game here. Zaniolo as that wide player coming in and helping out in midfield. Tielemans being that link between the midfield and the attack for Aston Villa. It's very important versus a Bournemouth side that can transition and counter press really, really well. At home, I reckon Aston Villa will have the upper hand. They'll have the control. And it's important they just deal with the early sort of 15 or 20 minutes. We obviously know how sluggish teams can be playing on Thursday nights and then playing again on the weekend. So it's important you just manage the first few minutes. Make sure Bournemouth don't get out of control, score a few goals or dictate the game. Just take your time, grow into the game. Allow the first 10 to 15 minutes to just be more possession, slow-based style. And then once you get your legs under you a bit, then go and expose and try to attack this Bournemouth side. For Bournemouth, obviously coming off another great performance, but throwing away another result, a 2-2 draw versus Man United, managing the 20 shots. So the creativity was there without Tavernier and Semenyo, but you've got the quality there. Dom Solanke and Clivert was massive in that game as well. And once again, that midfield duo of Cook and Christie going to be so important again to deal with what Aston Villa have got in that midfield, their dynamic midfield. I think for Bournemouth, it's important they can control the wide areas. So you look to the likes of Adam Smith, you look to like Milos Kerkez, they try and prevent balls into the area, try and prevent that pacey, dynamic style that Aston Villa can have on the flanks and can stretch Bournemouth back line. So I think for them, it's the wing backs going to be very important. Obviously, the two central midfielders to try and control the game. Aston Villa are going to provide moments where they're just on top for 15 to 20 minutes. So can Bournemouth have the mentality and the ability to hold on to those times and keep a team out, ride that momentum, and get in control themselves? Because Bournemouth have some great moments in this game here. Probably won't have as much as Aston Villa. It's about if they can defend, absorb the pressure when Aston Villa are firing, and then be clinical when they have the opportunity to go forward. I don't give Bournemouth much of a chance this game, unfortunately, despite how well they've played in recent weeks. I think Aston Villa's momentum will be too much. The confidence of the Arsenal result will be too much. And I've got them winning this game quite convincingly, 3-0. That now brings us to our final game of this shortened match week. It's Fulham hosting Liverpool, another important game for the title race. Fulham obviously coming off a very impressive 2-0 result versus West Ham. They exploited the counter-attack, they exploited mistakes, and Andres Pereira on the double once again. And I feel like him, alongside his Brazilian counterparts, Muniz and Willian, will be so important here versus Liverpool. They'll need to be an outlet, they'll need to be smart in possession when they had the opportunity, because as you can imagine, Fulham will probably have 30 to 35% possession despite being at home because of how Liverpool play, how aggressive they are. You're going to need these players to stand up. If Liverpool's defence is on the halfway line, you need Muniz to get in behind. When you get small times in possession, you want Pereira and Willian to be smart on the ball, create things out of nothing. And these three are the players you think you could get on the score sheet for Fulham. It's very important in this game. They try and get in the score sheet to cause Liverpool some problems. We saw how it worked with Crystal Palace. Get in the score sheet early and then just grind out the result. Because the way Liverpool are playing right now, it's actually possible to get a result playing that style of football. You look to Liverpool, they'll obviously come off a Europa League fixture on Thursday night, going away as well to Italy. So a long trip. The legs, again, might be not quite under them for the first 15 to 20 minutes. That's when Fulham can pounce. Liverpool want to start this game at a higher pace, though. You want to start in control early and try and get that first goal, because we saw how vulnerable they were last time out versus Palace when they conceded first. And right now, there's no confidence, feels like, with Salah and with Núñez. I look for these two to stand up here in this game, make a statement, dominate the game, link up well, score goals, take your chances, because Diaz is doing his thing. Jota always does his thing in terms of being clinical in front of goal. But those two there, Núñez and Salah, they always start, but they haven't been doing enough for me in recent weeks to really carry this Liverpool side. That midfield looks solid at times, and I don't think Curtis Jones should be playing in there, but outside of Curtis Jones being a very solid midfield area, the defence has been solid enough as well. It's just about that clinical edge in the final third. Do Liverpool have what it takes? It looks like there's a bit of fatigue setting in. Do they have what it takes to continue to be clinical, to continue to create chances? Because we know Fulham are hard beat at home. Fulham will make it hard on Liverpool. They'll copy the Crystal Palace formula. Are Liverpool up to it? Can they go again? Can they beat another team and keep this dream of a Premier League title in Klopp's final season alive? I think it'll be a tough old game. I think they'll grind out a result at Liverpool 2-1. I think they'll score first. Fulham will peg one back and Liverpool late on to get the winner there. We know how good they are from behind, but I think Liverpool have to score first this game if they want any chance of getting all 3 points. So that, ladies and gents, brings my prediction video for Matchweek 34 in the Premier League to an end. Obviously a shortened match week, only 7 games, but very exciting nonetheless. Obviously games at the bottom of the relegation scrap. Important games for Arsenal, Liverpool in terms of their title chances, and some great mid-table fixtures there as well. Obviously got the FA Cup fixtures going on as well, so attention will be diverted in multiple directions on the weekend, but the Premier League once again delivering some great games. Hope you enjoy the weekend's action. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to smash the like on it, guys. Subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more content like this. We are on the road to 500 subscribers. Any new subscribers would be much appreciated. And also press that post notification bell so you know when we upload our podcasts, videos, and reaction content. With it all being said, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoy the weekend's football action. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on a video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.